Welcome to the MGS Podcast, your one-stop shop for movies, games, and sports. My name is Jake, here always with the wind beneath my wings. Paul, how you
What's
doing?
going on, man? I'm doing great. Thank you guys for coming to hang out with us today. Excited to get this thing going.
You liked that one, didn't you?
Oh,
You,
I
uh,
did
you, you kind of started blushing a little bit.
just a little bit.
People might be able to notice a
A
little bit
little
better with the,
nervous.
the black wall and the different lighting.
Yeah, you know what? I think that if somebody can go and count how many adjustments have been made and give us the accurate answer from the first podcast
Yeah,
to this fourth podcast, we're gonna give you a free shirt.
a free shirt. Actually, I'll do that. Yeah, I'm down for that because we actually plan on getting some MGS podcast shirts made up. So the first person that can count how many changes we've made, and now this is if we change the logo, if we change the editing, if we change the background, if we've changed, not our clothes, we change
Yeah,
those at least once a week.
yeah, and this goes back to podcast one,
Yeah, and I've
podcast
worn
two,
different shoes every time
Rush
too.
Hour 3.
I'm rocking the Oakley, right there, rocking the Oakley shoes today.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the color, man.
Yeah. But okay, so small reflection like we typically do. Neither of us saw Uma. We haven't been able to get in theaters and see that, but we did watch Panama. So spoiler free, if you want to see a Mel Gibson movie, don't
This
watch
is
it.
not your movie.
Yeah. If you don't want to see a Mel Gibson movie, watch it.
Yeah.
Because
If you want to see a Cole Hauser
yeah, if
movie.
you want to see a Cole Hauser movie, definitely watch it. Mel Gibson, if I had to guess, he's only got maybe 3 to 6 minutes total of screen time in the entirety of the movie. Um, I'm pretty sure I'm a better video editor. Would you agree?
Oh,
Then
100%.
no, we'll put on the screen right now the crosshairs that it shows at one point in that movie, and as you can see, it doesn't look very good. Can you see it, Paul? You looking at it?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
right
right.
there.
Yeah,
Oh.
it looks pretty bad, but
Did you
but
just mock that up in paint?
yeah, I'm pretty sure they made it in paint. And they didn't even do a good job. Like there's still parts that should be black but have like a white highlight because they didn't color it in correctly. And
It was not done in HD, that's
no,
for
no,
sure.
that's 100% sure. They didn't even use the new paint
It was
program.
like
They
from the very, very first Call of Duty game.
yeah, it was from Windows 95 when Paint first came out. But okay, enough trash in the movie. Overall, I didn't think it was too bad. I've seen better Cole Hauser movies. I've seen better Mel Gibson movies, but Cole Hauser did do a good job. He tried to carry that movie the best that he could, given that it was advertised as a Mel Gibson movie, and Mel Gibson wasn't
Yeah, because
really
I
in
mean, I
it.
think when we watched the trailer, we were kind of a little pumped, like, all right, we're gonna see a good action
Yeah,
flick of Mel Gibson here, but like you said, 6 minutes total screen
yeah,
time.
yeah. It wasn't a lot. But on today's podcast, we're going to be talking about four movies. We're going to be talking about The Lost City, which has Sandra Bullock, Channing Tatum, Brad Pitt, Daniel Radcliffe. We're going to be talking about the new Halo series that comes out later this week, and
I'm pumped about that.
I'm
Dude, is it me or is Paramount like pushing out some good content?
well, you figure with the different IPTV services now, like you have to be competitive. Like,
Oh,
what's going to
100%.
sell your service over Netflix or HBO Max or the completely not illegal streaming services I use?
Yeah. Thanks, by the way.
You're welcome.
The crazy thing is like, everybody went away from television, but
Yeah.
then it's like, hey, pay $4.99 for this one, or pay $10.99 for this one, or pay $15 for
Now
this
people
one.
are paying
Hey, you want
$200.
premium Hulu with television? Go ahead and pay $30 for this one. And it's like you're right back up to what you
Yeah.
were paying on your cable bill. But either way, that's not here or there. If you really need to learn about TV, definitely go check out our boy Andy over at AT&T. He'll hook you up.
Oh yeah. And then for for gaming, I'm actually gonna mix it up a little bit. We're gonna talk a tiny bit about Fortnite. And then we're actually going to discuss between Paul and I what is our favorite single player game. So we're both probably going to have a separate opinion. I actually don't know what his favorite single player game is, and I don't think he knows what mine is. So this is going to be completely from scratch, just trying to figure it out as we go.
Cool.
And then for sports, the new thing we tried last week we think worked really well, where we just talk about the biggest news stories for that week. So we're
There's a
gonna,
lot again this week.
yeah.
So a lot
So
of
we're
covering sports all across baseball, football, soccer.
Yeah, I mean, my phone has been blowing up nonstop, and it's been depressing because I'm like, oh, did somebody text me? Like, no, it was ESPN.
Is that a new subscriber?
Yeah. Speaking of, you better go like and subscribe. But seriously, let us know how you think the podcast has been so far. Throw in the comments about changes you'd like to see, topics you'd like us to discuss, clothes you'd like us to wear. If you want Paul to get taller, tell Paul you want him to get taller.
Yeah,
Because I think
absolutely.
we'd all want that.
Yeah. Well, what they don't know is that I'm already sitting on a cushion here just to make myself level with you, because it would be really weird if I was like down here,
And,
you know.
and I'm slouched over quite a bit. Because See,
I hate you.
I never actually sat up next to you before. Oh, little people. But yeah, we're always down for constructive criticism. I mean, even harsh criticism. Just let us know what you think of the podcast so far, and send us your gaming clips so we can continue the gaming clips of the week. We've done week 1 and week 2. Haven't been getting a lot of clips though, so it's been primarily just footage of myself, Paul, and our closest gaming friends. So send those in to us. But on that note, let's move into movies.
Movies.
Okay, so for the first movie, we are going to talk about The Lost City, which I have to say, out of the comedies that have come out so far this week, based off the trailers, or this year, based off the trailers, I'm really excited
There's
for The
there's
Lost City.
there's another movie here that has a bunch of stars in it.
Yeah,
Like you mentioned earlier, we got Sandra Bullock, we got Channing Tatum, Brad Pitt, and then Mr. Harry Potter himself.
yeah, Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah, so it looks like it's
Frodo,
going to be
Frodo
exciting.
Baggins.
Yeah, Frodo Baggins. So it looks like it's going to be a comedy action. I don't think you can ever not get a comedy with Channing Tatum in it.
Yeah, I mean, he's done some more serious movies as well. It doesn't fit him anymore. Like he did that one movie where he played, U.S. Army soldier, Dear John, uh,
Teardrop.
and he's in love, but he keeps getting deployed or whatnot. But that he did very well. Don't get me wrong, he did very well. But he does so well in comedy too. In 21 Jump Street, for example, and
Yeah,
those movies were phenomenal.
yeah, absolutely.
Um,
One of my favorites.
yeah, and then Brad Pitt coming in, you know, when I'm watching the trailer, the last thing I'm expecting is to see a long blonde haired Brad Pitt
I thought
just
he was coming straight out
appear.
of the Troy scene, bro. Yeah, when he came, he's like, "What are you doing here? I'm here to save her." It's like,
Man,
what?
why you gotta remind me of Troy? That movie, that movie, Hector! I was so bummed out when he killed Hector.
Yeah, it was pretty cool
Spoiler
fight scene
alert for
though.
that
Yeah,
as well. Hector dies. But seeing him just appear with his long, beautiful, luscious blonde hair, and then like he's pushing Sandra Bullock out in like a shopping cart or something. He does this
flicks his
hair
hair.
flip, and it's
How
it's
come
the
my
best
hair
thing that
flips
I've
never
ever
look
seen.
like that?
You're not Brad Pitt.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, don't get me wrong. You're a solid 7.
7.
If
I
Brad
was
Pitt's
doing
a
the
10,
Instagram thing the other day, and they told me I was an 8.
you actually do those things.
I mean, I did it that one just to
Yeah,
see,
yeah.
build
They,
confidence.
they usually tell me I'm a 10 because I lie. Like, tell us what you like to do for fun. All of that, yeah, sure, sure. I don't do any of that stuff. But then, of course, Daniel Radcliffe, who appears to play the villain to some
Yeah,
extent in here, where Sandra Bullock, and we only talk about what's in the previews, so there's no spoilers in what we say. But if she's an author who's writing these like romance action novels,
right.
and this one is about the Lost City. I think it was called the Lost City of O. And Daniel Radcliffe apparently is actually searching for an actual place called the Lost City of O.
And
So
thinks he's
he
gonna find those answers in her
in her
book,
book, and then he
so he
like
kidnaps
kidnaps
her.
her.
Yeah, and then you get the person who plays her actor in her book being Channing Tatum,
Yeah,
who's just this serious guy in the books and the movies, and then just as goofy as you can expect Channing
yeah.
Tatum to be
He's
in real
just
life. So
stupid.
yeah,
His character is just
it
dumb.
almost like reminds me that it's a little bit of a 21 Jump Street
Yeah,
character in there with
yeah.
like that kind of dumbfounded type of Channing Tatum, but yeah, it looks funny and
When he's trying to be the hero, and then unfortunately, the actual hero of this movie, maybe he's the actual villain. Brad Pitt
yeah.
comes along.
So let me ask you something. Think there's going to be a little bit of romance in this?
I mean,
You
Sandra
think?
Bullock is a lucky woman. I'm gonna say that she's kissed Ryan Reynolds. in The Proposal.
Yep, I like that movie.
She's now, I'm assuming at some point she's going to kiss Channing Tatum and
Both
Brad
him
Pitt.
and Brad Pitt. Yeah,
I mean, and you look at her long list of beautiful men that she's already kissed.
Miss Congeniality.
I mean, there's no men that stand out to me, but I loved her in Miss Congeniality. I don't like to admit that out loud, but I loved both of the Miss
They were
Congeniality
good.
movies. They were really
She
good.
played that character very well.
Neo, Mr. Keanu Reeves himself in Speed.
Oh, that's right. Oh my
Yeah.
God, you took it back to the
Oh my
'90s.
lord, she kissed him though.
Throwback.
Like she's kissed John Wick.
Yeah.
Not many people can say that. I'd kiss John Wick. Not to be confused with John Wicker, but you
Yeah.
know, I would kiss John Wick.
So
But Lost City, it's going to be exclusively in theaters. I believe it's this Friday, which is the 25th. Of course, some theaters do the day prior releases,
right,
the
Thursday.
Thursday
Yeah.
afternoon, Thursday night releases. But I'm excited to see that one. I think it's going to be a really good comedy movie. You can't go wrong with a list of actors like that. You know how much money it had to have cost them for that?
Just to get everybody. Well, I kind of wonder if if you'll actually see a ton of Brad Pitt or if he's just there.
Just as like a cameo character, he
Right.
just hops in and saves it. Maybe, you know, I guess you never know because in Panama you see Mel Gibson in the whole trailer,
Yeah, and then
and,
he's
and
not there at all.
and that's all of his screen time in the movie. That's in that trailer.
That's just
So
how they're gonna pull you in now. It's like, hey, we need one big face. Throw it in the trailer, make it
yeah,
seem like it's about him, and then pull him out.
and who knows? Maybe Brad Pitt has turned into the next Nicolas Cage, where he'll just accept any role that's put on his desk
Yeah.
because he needs money to buy more T-Rex skeletons. He used to own one in
You know
case
what's crazy is I used to think Nicolas Cage was like the guy that was in the most movies, and then
he's not.
yeah, no, there's actually we'll look it up, and we'll come back to it. But there is somebody who does more movies than Nicolas Cage, and I'm like, and it's actually a pretty big name. And
Well, they're now doing a movie with Nicolas Cage that makes fun of Nicolas Cage accepting all those
I'll
movie
watch it.
roles. It looks hilarious.
I'll watch it.
It's got Pedro Pascal in it as well, who plays
Oh
the
yeah, yeah,
Mandalorian,
yeah.
and he's gonna play Joel in the Last of Us series that's coming
When does
out.
that come out?
I'll have to double check. I saw something on it earlier today, but I think it's gonna be later this year or
Okay.
early next year.
Well, I'm sure we'll be doing a podcast on that.
But speaking of TV series made out of video games, on to our next movie, which is a TV series. Some of you might have heard of it. It's called Halo.
Yeah, I don't. What? Can you explain a
Let
little
me
bit
see your
about
head. It's a song that Beyonce wrote.
Oh, oh,
Yeah,
oh! I love that song.
I hate Beyonce.
Oh, really?
Oh, I shouldn't have
Dude, she
said that
sings
for a
it.
podcast. You know how many
She
people are going to be
she
upset with
sings
me?
it in this children's hospital, and she's singing like to all these little children who are fighting like battling cancer. It's like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, she's the head of the Illuminati, so
Yeah,
she's allowed to do crazy
whatever
things
she
like that.
wants.
But Halo actually comes out later this week on Thursday, on the 24th. I was at Paul's house. We were watching the Super Bowl,
Yeah,
and that's when the world premiere trailer came on for Halo.
it was pretty exciting, man. We had
Yeah,
that volume turned up.
like I mean it. Oh man, I'm even actually it wasn't for the Super Bowl. It was for the AFC Championship game because I remember we weren't outside. We were in the living
Oh,
room.
the first one they did launch. You're 100%
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yep.
I thought it was a Super Bowl, but either
Kansas against
way,
KC. Yep.
we were excited. We were there with a few friends. Paul's old man was there, and we got super stoked about this Halo trailer, which it's got Pablo Schreiber as Master Chief.
Dude, I think he's gonna be a great Master Chief.
Oh, I mean, you look at his movement, just the way he walks, and you know that he's played the games.
If you guys are not familiar with him either, two of his big movies, which one of my favorite all-time war movies was 13 Hours. And he was not as serious in that movie. He was a little bit of the comedian of the
Yeah,
group. But he played that role in 13 Hours so great, and that is
yeah.
just one of my favorite movies of all
Him and
time.
John Krasinski just they
Oh,
killed that.
dude, I love
Every
John
person that
Krasinski.
was in that movie killed it.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal movie. And then Den of Thieves, which I know you said you really
Oh, I
enjoyed.
love Den of Thieves. At
Yeah,
one point, he threatens somebody in that movie, and it's one of the funniest things that I've ever seen. He's got all these like hardcore Latino gangsters with him, and they're threatening this kid, and it's hilarious,
I'll
man.
have to check that one
But
out.
he's such an amazing actor. He doesn't get enough credit for the roles he plays because he takes his roles so seriously. Like I
He's
said,
ripped,
he's jacked.
dude. Yeah.
He's everything that I wish I could be. Like meanwhile, I'm over here trying to keep tucking down my sleeves to hide my tan lines, and that man doesn't have a tan line on his body.
Yeah, I know.
That's all that I'm saying. But it also has Jen Taylor, who plays Cortana. She also plays Cortana in the video games. She also voices Princess Peach in some video games.
You like in Mario Kart?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, not that she has a lot of voice lines, but she has voiced Cortana since the first Halo game. So she's been the sole
So
voice of Cortana.
she's voiced it, but I also know that there's a little bit of backlash on that as well.
So people don't have an issue with her voicing it, but the new Cortana character in the show is also modeled after her, rather than being modeled after Natasha McElhone, who plays Dr. Halsey
Doctor,
in the
yeah,
show.
okay.
And Dr. Halsey is who created the Spartan program, created Cortana, and modeled Cortana after her own appearance.
Parents, yeah.
So people are upset that one, Cortana isn't modeled after Dr. Halsey, and two, believe it or not, people are upset that Cortana is wearing too many clothes.
Can't sexualize everything, guys, you
You
know.
really can't. I think personally, I think Cortana looks great. I think they did a good job making her look human like,
Right.
but still you can tell she's an artificial intelligence. They still have that blue tint on her, but it's a more realistic looking
And
artificial
you got to
intelligence.
know when you go into movies or TV shows like this that there's not going to be everything the same as what you get in a video game. You know, because they're trying to get and reach multiple audiences here.
Yeah.
And starting with kids, you know, who are coming into Halo,
Yeah.
and, you know, adults also reaching that, you know, age group that's been playing it for the last 20
Well, yeah,
years.
because
So,
you figure with Halo Infinite having just launched, you've got brand new Halo fans that
yeah,
had never even heard of the game before, but saw this game that was available for free on Xbox with Game Pass. They played it.
boom.
So now we've got this Halo show coming out, which it does take place in an alternative timeline. So this is not the video game canon. They're doing their own thing. They're calling it the Silver Timeline. So we don't know exactly when it takes place, but it has nothing to do with the events of the game.
Which, I mean, the good thing is like when you do your own storyline, it can be dangerous,
Yeah,
you know, because then you're going off of something no one's ever heard about, is going to keep people engaged.
like the last season of Game of Thrones.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no
Go
source
off the
material.
books. But it also can be exciting because it's like, you know, you don't know what's going to
Yeah,
happen. You know, it's all new characters. You may see different people you don't see in the games and things like that. But obviously, we did get to see the Covenant.
yeah.
And
You
dude, they looked awesome.
got to see some different elites with
Yeah.
their energy swords,
Go
and
right through the wall next
oh
to some girl in the
man,
trailer. I was like,
they look amazing.
yeah.
I just the visuals in this or in this TV show, just from the trailer, honestly, they blew my mind. How good, I mean, even the Spartans' armor, how good it looks, how natural it looks. You see some of the Marines' armor, and they literally took the armor from every Halo game where you could see the Marines, and they like combined it all together.
Yep.
So, we've got some Halo Reach armor on these guys mixed in with some Halo Combat Evolved
Yeah,
armor,
because
and
when
it
they're
just looks so
all the
good.
Spartans are walking together, you can kind of see the different, yeah.
And it just, they look, oh, they look so good.
And I know we've been waiting for this for a long time,
A
and
long
not
time.
necessarily just a TV show, but a movie about Halo because
Yeah.
the game is so good, like the storyline is so good that it's like, man, they've got to do something for this. And you know, we got that one movie, the Master Chief movie, which was
Well,
done by,
that was done by some college
yeah, and
students.
it was
Yeah.
incredible. I mean, I've watched that movie like 6 times,
Mm-hmm.
dude. It was done so well. And you know, you've always been kind of waiting for something like this. So I do love that it's gone into a show because the character development for, you know, like that you get to get in TV shows over a 2.5 hour movie where you jam and everything
Yeah.
and then have to wait 2 or 3 years before you get a sequel. I love that they're doing this stuff. And that goes
Yeah.
back to Disney Plus with, you know, Boba Fett and The Mandalorian and now Obi-Wan Kenobi. You know, when you get those series and, you know, Marvel even breaking off and doing it a couple of those
Yeah.
too, I love that. And I
Yeah.
love that they're doing this as a TV show and not a movie. And maybe there will be a movie, but as of right now, we get to see so much more.
I feel like the future of nerd vision, we'll call it nerd television, is going to be TV shows. Just because, like you said, they have that ability to build a character through 10-hour long episodes.
Yep.
Well, that's what we always hope for. Sometimes they screw us and throw in a 22
37
minute
minute, yeah,
episode or
37
something
or
like that. Like
42.
there's a 22-minute
But you
episode
know
of
when you see that
WandaVision.
55-minute one, you're like, this one's gonna be
This is
good.
gonna be a
Something special's happening
banger.
here. A banger.
But with Halo, you got to figure that the show is going to be successful enough that they're going to have more than one season. So further
They've
down the
actually
road,
already approved second season.
have they?
Yeah.
Okay, I
So
hadn't even seen that, so that's
yeah.
exciting because one thing you don't see in the show, which I mean, let's be realistic, they can't fit it in, is the flood. You know, if you don't know what the flood is, it's like we'll call them they're the zombies
Right.
of the Halo universe. And I remember as a kid playing Halo 1, when you first encounter the flood, I was terrified.
Yeah.
Like,
Run the other way.
and then, Halo 2 comes out. My mom took us to the mall, my brother and I to the mall, so we could wait in line at it was GB Games.
GB
It was before it
Games.
turned into a GameStop. Most other places it was known as EB Games because we were in Green Bay. They rebranded GB Games. But we waited for the midnight release of Halo 2. And, we got home and my mom let us skip the next day of school so we could play the Halo
Nice. Way
2
to go,
campaign.
Mary.
I know. I love you, Mom. So we skipped the next day of school, and even Halo 2, we're like, oh, is the flood coming? This is so
Just in that
scary.
little voice, just like, is the flood coming, guys?
That sounds almost identical to when I was a kid, but I also had a lisp.
Oh, did you
I
really?
never told you that. Yeah,
No.
but I used to have a bad lisp. One of my uncles used to make fun of me and basically belittle me for it. So, love you, Uncle Dave.
I was for all those games, man. It was always Blockbuster for me.
Oh yeah,
It was always renting it, and then not even bringing the game back in, just saying, "Hey, I need to check this out again,"
yeah,
because I'm not letting somebody else take it.
dude.
Friday
Halo.
night blockbusters, man.
Yeah, Halo is phenomenal because they did a really good job with the Infinite campaign as well.
That's when storylines mattered.
Well, yeah, they do, and
Now they don't anymore. Nobody
yeah,
does them.
and that's what concerns me about a little bit about this show is the writers of the show. They didn't even look at the games. So this is fresh. It
So
could be a good thing or a bad thing.
I do. So I did want to say I did see a interview today with Pablo, who's playing Master Chief, and he did hint on some things that he did some studying of the character based on the video games and how he acts and how he wants to portray that, but also wants to bring in his own type of character for Master Chief by potentially seeing his face.
Yes, I've heard that we might see his face. I heard
So,
for sure we're going to see the back of the head.
right. Well, you
But
saw a little bit of that in the trailer too. His
yeah, you
back
saw
with a
his
giant
back with the
scar.
scars.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which I thought was the state of Texas at first. It's like, what?
it's pretty close. Pretty close in size when you consider how big a Spartan is too, because they are
Uh,
genetically enhanced
and
machines.
I think that will just give more, what I would say, character development as of when you see somebody's face, there's more of an emotional connection.
Yeah,
So I think that's probably what they're going to go for there, so you can relate more to the characters. So it'll be interesting,
yeah.
and like I said, I'm stoked for this, man.
One thing I loved about the one of the trailers. At one point, Master Chief goes up to a turret that's sitting there, and he rips it off
He better be ripping it
and
off.
start shooting it just like in the
Yeah.
games. And that's exciting.
Do you think he's
So
gonna rip it off a warhog, like a blown warhog on the ground?
maybe that, I mean, I'm excited just to see the Warthog too.
Yeah. That you see him in the trailer,
Yeah.
just
Well,
cruising
and you
by when
see
they're running on
Master
the
Chief
scene.
with a plasma pistol as well. And the plasma pistol, because all of the Halo games had their own slight redesign of each weapon.
Yep.
And that plasma pistol was straight out of Halo Reach, which is a lot of people's favorite Halo game. So
So they had to take some
yeah,
things
there are
from,
people who are working on the show that watch the games or played the games and are, you know, paying their respects in little ways to the
sure.
games with these little call outs. Um, One thing I found interesting about the trailer, now, I could be wrong about this, but I believe this is an entirely new character. There's a character called McKee, who is the blonde human in the show, which I read up a little bit about her, and apparently she was like raised by the Covenant, a human raised by the Covenant, which that's where I feel like the writing might be flawed because, like, in the games, the Covenant, like, are under strict orders, kill all humans.
Right.
They've been fighting humans forever.
But
So
do
why would they
they
raise one?
maybe to get a better understanding?
That could be.
You
That
know,
could be.
I mean, it may have turned into like a project at first, like,
Hmm.
of trying to understand humans and then becoming this, well, we can train her.
Yeah. One of the
Secret agent
man.
man.
Yeah, that's a great song.
Maybe, but I
One
don't
of people's concerns that I had read is with this character, like, did you just take this attractive blonde woman and throw her in as a quote unquote villain to be a potential love interest for Master Chief? And a lot of people don't want that. I don't want that. Master Chief has one love, and it's Cortana, and well, he's got two in his guns.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, this gun,
Stomping
this
some
gun.
aliens in the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I would not like to see a love story out of it. That would to me kind of kill it because that's not who Master Chief is.
yeah.
He's kind of almost robotic if you really think
Yeah, I
about it. I
mean,
mean,
you
he's
figure these Spartans are literally engineered.
yeah,
They
to
were
kill.
people at one point, and then they're just built to be something else. They're
Yeah,
experimented on, and part of their brain is even programmed to follow certain orders, kind of like, the clones
yeah.
in
Star
Star
Wars.
Wars. But
Always referencing back to Star Wars.
I can't not reference Star Wars. You got to figure so many pop culture things are taken from Star Wars, so it's hard not to reference Star Wars because it has to do with everything.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, if you go back and even look at, Star Wars Episode 1 and Darth Maul, and you look at different bad characters who have been replicated in different ways to look like Darth Maul, people be like, well, Darth Maul was replicated to look like the devil. The devil isn't real. Darth Maul is. Okay. But you know
I
what?
have his lightsaber right
It's
here.
right here.
It is so real.
Yeah, but we'll find out. Hopefully, we'll have answers soon enough. Now, I don't know with this release if it's going to be the whole season at once or if it's going to be a week by week thing. That was one thing I did not
I can tell
check.
you, Paramount releases, which is one of their biggest shows, Yellowstone, and it's a weekly
That's weekly.
release.
Okay, so
Yeah,
we can assume that this is going to be the
which
same
is
thing.
good. It builds the anticipation weekly. I hate it at the
No, it
same
builds the
time.
anxiety
Yeah,
in my body.
especially for
So,
things like
oh
this.
yes, but I'm stoked. We'll find out on Thursday what they have in store for us over there at Paramount on this
Yeah,
Halo series. It
I'm
premieres on
excited.
Thursday, March 24th on Paramount Plus.
We'll be watching.
Yes, we're gonna go to a small break and then we will be back for our gaming segment.
Gaming second segment.
I can.
Welcome back to the MGS podcast, your one-stop shop for movies, games, and sports. We have reached our second segment of the day, which is going to be gaming. Um, big gaming topic today is what? 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 What did I do?
You paused for so long.
Just a second. It was a second, man. Fucking criminy. Crocky. Crocky, mate. Welcome back to the MGS podcast, your one-stop shop for movies, games, and sports. Moving on to our second segment here, so appreciate you guys coming to hang out with us. We're going to be talking about Fortnite and then our favorite single-player game. So we're going to start off here with Fortnite. Chapter 3, Season 2 has removed buildings.
Yeah, you
Um,
can't build anymore.
Whenever you told me that, I was like a little blown away. I was like, isn't that what Fortnite's about?
It's
Like, isn't
literally
that
what Fortnite's about.
what like separated them from like all these other battle royale games besides being very cartoonish?
Yeah, so it's temporary. It's only supposed to last. There's been two leaks. One leak says 1 week. The other leak says 9 days.
So like a trial
Yeah, I
period.
think that's what they're trying to do. I think they're trying to attract people who are intimidated by the building aspect of Fortnite. Because you got to figure, when it comes to Fortnite, that's where your skill gap is with building. Because have you ever watched like a super competitive Fortnite player
Oh,
and they're just
dude.
like, and they're like spinning up, building,
Yeah, like I mean, but as they're still shooting and
yeah,
blasting people, I'm like, I can't keep up with that. There's
yeah.
too much going on there.
So it's intimidating to people who want to get into Fortnite. That's terrifying.
But why? I don't get if you want to like. So you're trying to get people who are intimidated by it to come in and play, but for such a short period of time. By the time that the word gets out that they've stopped building, it's like, hey, next week we're back.
Yeah, we're back.
So
And little Timmy's gonna be over there ready with his mom's credit card to buy some new skins, and he's gonna get into that next match, and
oh,
someone's gonna build a
Timmy,
skyscraper around him, and he's and like, "Mom!"
I'm blocking you in.
Yeah, man.
This is my house.
Well, and they've done some things to kind of, because you got to figure with Fortnite, your building is your shield. When someone's shooting at you, you quick, build a box so that you're not taking fire anymore. So what they've done was they added an overshield, kind of like armor plates in some of your other battle
Right.
royales. I guess you could compare it pretty closely to Halo,
I was
where how
gonna
you have
say
your
like
your
Halo.
overshield.
Yeah.
So they added an overshield, so when you're getting shot at, that's going to deplete first, and then after that, your health starts to deplete. They've also added a tactical sprint, which that's no use to you because you just walk anyway.
Bro, I told you last week about my issue with tactical sprint. Sometimes I tactical sprint too long. I'm sliding, I get up and start running, then
It's not like you're delivering a pizza or like you don't want to forget to turn right onto 14th Street.
30 seconds or less, bro. You got to get to that objective 30 seconds or
You're not
less.
gonna get to it walking. But so they added the tactical sprint, and the other thing that they added was vaulting, because you figure now you can't build a ramp to get on top of a building, so they had to give people a different way to try to get on top of a building. So they added, you can jump a little bit higher, especially if you're doing the
It's like
tactical
a
sprint.
double jump.
It's not a double jump. They just added some height to the jump, and then you can like grab onto the ledge
Okay.
and pull yourself over. Which obviously it'll do it for you automatically. You don't have to hit Alt F4 to grab onto the ledge. Now I keep telling all these Alt F4 jokes, and I just realized it. So if you're playing PC, don't hit Alt F4. Don't ever listen to me when I say hit Alt F4. Do you know what it does?
I don't have a PC, so no.
It just closes your game.
Oh, God.
So like when you're in a lobby with someone, they're like, I can't figure out how to change my loadout. Just hit Alt F4. What the?
All right, now we got that guy off our team.
But don't hit Alt F4. So they added the tactical sprint. They added vaulting, and with those overshields, they also added. You can replenish your overshield by finding whatever consumable it is. I don't know what it is, but there's a consumable you can find to replenish your overshield. So it's not like once it depletes, it's gone forever. You can replenish it. In that aspect, I guess you can compare it a lot to even PUBG. When you do the energy drinks, you get that extra little
Right, right. Gives you a little
health
bit of
boost.
boost,
Yeah.
run a little faster, and
Or walk a
or
little
walk.
faster. To each their
He's
own.
never gonna let it go.
Let it go. Let it go. So another thing that they added with the new season, they added tanks.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, well,
Yeah.
that's a little bit more exciting. Now you got some destructive vehicles
Yeah.
that can, really do some damage.
Well, and
So
earlier today I watched some gameplay with a guy using a tank, and I give it 2 more hours before Twitter is completely flooded with complaints about these tanks because pretty strong.
yeah, so they're gonna have to work on like scaling back the
Yeah, I
armor
mean
on
the
them.
damage is where it should be. I think because it takes like 3, 4 shots like at your feet to kill you with the tank, but you're strong. To counteract that, they added like there's C4 that can blow up the tanks now. There's a heavy sniper rifle that'll do more damage to them. All guns do damage to them, just those do significantly more damage to them. So they added that.
Interesting.
They added blimps.
Yeah, that's an Apex thing, right?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, because Apex had like the ships where you could zip line up to them and
Yeah.
there's loot up on the ships. Now they added that exact same thing, but it's a blimp in Fortnite.
I mean, there's probably gonna be people out there in Fortnite who hate me for saying this, but Fortnite's really kind of ripped off everything they are from other games.
Pretty much. You figure that at the
Really,
beginning they were
PUBG,
sued by, yeah, PlayerUnknown himself sued them for copying, the
the way they
formula or
come
of how to, yeah.
dropping, flying over, and I mean they had the school bus. I think was I don't know if that's still it because I haven't played the game
Yeah, when
since
you
it really
flew in, it
first
was on the
launched.
school
Yeah,
bus.
but yeah, it was very PUBG-ish when I first played. I just couldn't really get into it, being that it was like cartoonish.
Yeah.
It just really wasn't for me. But obviously, the game is a huge success. Millions and millions of people play it, and there's huge tournaments for it.
Yeah, they
And
just do such awesome things and they collaborate with, like, if there's something to collaborate with, they've
didn't
collaborated
they
with
do
it.
a collaboration with LeBron James?
They did a LeBron
The
James, they
Space
did,
Jam, right?
yeah, they did for, Endgame or Infinity War. You could get Thanos
Yeah, I mean
and he
that's
was
all
just
cool
completely
because especially
overpowered.
for the cartoonish type game,
Yeah,
to be able to get all those characters in there like that, it really probably makes it a lot more
yeah,
interesting and gives you a lot more to play for at that
yeah.
point.
And there was
So
a Travis Scott concert
that's right.
in the
Yeah, that
game.
was another one. Yeah.
There was a big Star Wars event where like the First Order shows up, and then I watched the live stream of this event. Everyone is watching the First Order like say stuff, and then all of a sudden everybody has a lightsaber. Yeah,
What?
and then everyone just starts murdering everyone.
Damn, that's
They
awesome.
pulled a straight up Anakin Skywalker and killed everything in sight.
Women, children,
Yeah.
slaying everybody.
So, I give PUBG, not PUBG, I'm sorry. I give Fortnite a lot of credit because they really take what's popular and they capitalize on it. And they add these great things to this game. I'm on the same page as Paul where it's not really my thing because of its, cartoony nature. I have played Fortnite. I'm good at shooting people, but then, next thing you know, I've got the Empire State Building in front of me as it's being constructed and I get murdered.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the Fortnite community really thinks when they take that away because some of those players are so good at building
Oh
and
yeah.
that's their way of survival of like
Yeah.
how they play the game that I think if you take it out, it's gonna really tick off their community of players. But again, with it being such a short period of time, just trying to pull in some extra people,
What I can
it'll be
see them
interesting.
doing is so they're kind of doing this to see in general how people who already play feel about it. And then I think it's going to be a separate game mode. You're going to have your standard mode with your buildings, your craftings, and then there's going to be a mode where it's just run and gun
That would make
and play
sense.
the
And
game.
that would be probably a little bit better for them.
Yeah.
That would definitely help bring in a larger crowd. But again, for such a short trial run, I mean, how many people are you going to pull in within 9 days to,
I mean,
7 to 9
it's
days?
Fortnite. I feel like they'll figure it out. They can do anything overnight. They're the ones who popularize these in-game events. I remember Destiny 2. They're like, yeah, we're gonna have a Fortnite like in-game event. It's gonna be awesome. So,
Did it fail?
yeah. So myself, my Cali folks, shout out again to the Cali folks. We uh we get on Destiny to watch this in-game event. I think they're like, "Oh, it starts at noon." I'm like, "All right, I'm in it." So at noon, the servers are flooded. It takes a while to get in. I'm stressing. I'm like, I'm gonna miss the in-game event. So I get in at like noon 15, and nothing has happened yet. So I type in the chat to people like, "What's going on?" And they're like, "Oh, look over in this area." So you look and you see like these little lines, which are missiles, going towards this giant ship. It took 3 hours for
For the
those missiles
missiles?
to hit the ship.
What an event.
So you're just sitting there like,
It's kind of one of those events you didn't have to show up early to,
yeah. I
huh?
feel like, they did it to allow people to contemplate their life because you're just sitting there looking at the stars, these little missiles going towards this giant ship, and then eventually they hit, and it's
Could you
very
imagine?
anticlimactic. It is
Like, it's
terrible.
like it started at 12 and then it's like 2:30. The event's still going on. Oh God, I can still get in. So and then you finally get in and this person waited 20 minutes as you waited 3 hours to
It
get
was it was it was terrible. But Fortnite, they've done a really good job with their events. I think they do a good job with their cosmetics in general. There's all kinds of crazy things that you can get in there. Again, I prefer the more realistic side of things, but to each their own, and I can see what attracts people to the game. There's actually been something that has made me want to play Fortnite. Seriously, too.
Okay, what is it?
So you've
Tell
heard
don't tell me, tell them.
so you've so you've heard of Among Us, right?
Yes.
They did their own mode. Again, you referencing them knocking off other games, they did a mode called Imposters,
Okay.
where it is literally Among Us, where you're trying to find the imposter who's murdering everybody,
Yeah.
and you're in a ship. You have to do tasks and stuff like that. I was actually curious to play it because I don't play Among Us because that's way too cartoony and the whole
Yeah.
two-dimensional thing. Not a fan. So to think of a three-dimensional, more realistic version of Among Us kind of excited me, but I never actually downloaded it to try it out.
Okay, so it's not something they kept going. It was just a seasonal type
Not
thing.
sure.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fortnite people, tell us.
Yeah, yeah. I know we have at least one Fortnite person watching this. Talking to you. Let us know. Are they still doing the imposters thing? Is that still a game mode or was that limited time? But speaking of limited time, I want to move on from Fortnite. No offense, Fortnite people. I'm an adult, so I want to move on from Fortnite, and
He
we're gonna.
plays Roblox.
I play Roblox, but we're gonna talk a little bit about our favorite single player games. Paul and I, again, we don't know what each other's favorite single player game is. I have an assumption. I think yours is, what was it? Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball?
Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball. Oh, his head.
So me personally, my favorite single player game. Well, first I'm going to do a couple honorable mentions. Some games that were close. Ghost of Tsushima for PlayStation. Spider-Man, also PlayStation. Man, I'm giving PlayStation way too much credit right now.
I'm about to walk out.
Yeah. And then my favorite, Red Dead Redemption 2. What you got?
Mine
Yeah.
is
Oh no, the Yoda picture that's on the wall right there. Yoda, what do you got?
I thought you were going to talk about Red Dead for a little bit,
No,
but
we'll get into that. I
so
just want to know. I'm curious. I want to know what your favorite is.
so mine's actually a Rockstar game as well.
Okay.
So it's actually Grand Theft Auto.
Any specific one? If you had
I
to
re-
pick,
I like
3,
I like
San Andreas,
5,
Liberty
but
City.
I gotta go to Vice City.
Okay, Vice City was cool. Vice City was the one that introduced buying houses,
Right. And
which was
then
awesome.
the coolest thing about it is like it gave you that Scarface,
Yeah,
house there on the beach, and it was
literally a
literally
replica.
it was pretty much the game was like
Yeah.
you feel like you're in that character, so
Yeah, I'll give you that. We might be getting Vice City for Grand Theft Auto 6 as one of the rumored locations.
I'm excited. I've heard that they've been in works for that already now. I think you said for a couple years. But I think we're looking at a 2024 release.
Minimum.
Yeah, minimum. They take forever to do these games, but thank God they don't rush them out because
They're quality.
yeah,
Rockstar puts out a good game. People can bash Grand Theft Auto 5 all they want for, the game's been re-released 3 or 4 times since 2013.
nothing we've talked about before, but I just can't believe that it's already been 9 years
Yeah,
since that game released. And to your point, that it was released on Xbox 360.
yeah.
And like, playing it as much as we did when it first came out, I forgot that we've already gone through 2 generations of consoles.
Yeah, because I remember, when it first came out, Xbox One had been announced, but it wasn't out yet. And then people were mad because, hey, I got it for Xbox 360. Now you announce the Xbox One. So Rockstar's like, hey, we'll give it to you for free. That's fine. But, Prime GTA 5 was so amazing, especially GTA Online, because you could still cheat in its
Yeah,
prime.
the money cheat.
Oh, my Lord. I used to
All
have,
the nice cars.
yeah, I used to have new people come on, like, hey, I'll give you this car, and you just go sell it, and I'll show you how to duplicate the car so
That's
you
what
can
you
keep
did to
selling.
me. That's what you did to me. I remember walking to your garage. I was like, this is just the first floor. Like, oh my God, this is awesome. Is this real life? No wonder people want to live in their
Yeah.
VRs.
Oh my Lord. Yeah. If Ready Player One, if that was like you could live in the reality that you created,
Oh, I love that movie.
a lot of people would, die old and alone.
Yeah.
At
And
least in the real world.
be gaining weight faster than what I already do.
Hey, we've both gained weight. It's okay. But with Red Dead Redemption 2, I also love the first Red Dead Redemption. I'm not gonna throw any shade on
I
it.
love the first one.
Yeah, it was an amazing game. Red Dead Redemption 2 is actually a prequel to Red Dead Redemption. Takes place before all of those events. Actually, at the end of Red Dead Redemption 2 is the beginning of Red Dead Redemption. But there's just so much that you can do in that game, and the attention to detail, the wind blowing your hair, you know, you can see your sweat, in scenes where people are crying, you can actually see them crying. You can kick a kid. No, you can't kick a kid.
It's like,
Nor would I
Jesus.
want to. This is a PG program. But you can just do so many things, and you can make your character how you want. You can be a good guy, you can be a bad guy. Those decisions affect the outcome of the story as well. So if you're a bad guy, you might live and or die this way. If you're a good guy, at the end you might live and or die this more respectable way. And it's just so good. And there's so much you can do.
It's the Western
Yeah.
feel to the game. Feel it is Western. Like I love that about the game. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what it is. Even Western movies, I've always loved. But I love that feel of the game. Riding around on the horse. You
Mm-hmm.
know, next thing you're in the middle of a canyon, and you're moving on to the next town, and it was awesome. There was a lot of snow in the second one.
Yeah, so there's different areas within the game, kind of like your Grand Theft Auto, like um, San Andreas.
Yeah,
You have the three different maps. So you've got your up north part, which is snow, and when I say attention to detail, I mean you're walking through the snow and the tracks are behind you. You get shot, you leave blood stains in the snow. So you've got that, and then of course you go down south and you get into like your northern, your Wisconsins. We'll call
right.
it your Wisconsins. And then you go a little further south and you get into your Texas. And then you get into your Louisianas, Good old
Louisiana.
Louisiana. Where there's alligators and you're in the swamps and
These fried mayonnaise balls are delicious.
delicious. But there's just so many different biomes within that game, and they're each unique in their own ways, where they have different animals you can hunt, different fish you can
Dude,
catch. And me, I played through that game. I wanted to play the story. I beat the game, and then I replayed it, and I 100%ed it. I did every side
I
thing
remember you telling me about
that
that
you
and
could
how
do.
proud you were
And
of
then I did it
doing all
again.
those missions. Jesus, twice.
I did it again. I 100% of the game twice because I didn't like the way I 100%ed it the first time.
I could do better.
Yeah, and I did. And I did. And that game was just, it was so amazing. The hunting missions that you could go on, the little side quests, like you could get abducted by aliens.
Cowboys versus aliens.
Kind of.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, or outlaws.
Outlaw.
Outlaws for, yeehaw! Outlaws versus
Let
aliens.
me get
But,
that yeehaw one more time.
you know. Um, So, you
So
can get
judgy,
abducted
bro.
by aliens. Like, you can find a weird, like, murderer who's, like, leaving body parts everywhere. And if you have to put the clues together to find this guy. And then eventually you do, and he tries to murder you, and you shoot him in the face. But, I mean, if you want to lasso him and pull him out in front of a train, you could do
That's the
that
best
too.
part when you
Yeah.
lasso them and drag them behind the
Drag him
horse.
behind the horse.
Dude,
I've,
that's so
I've done that
awesome.
so many times. There are some very creative ways to explore your insanity
Yeah,
in that game.
I can get away with this here.
Man, there's a mission in the game where like this guy's like, "Oh, hey, how you doing, stranger?" And you're walking up to his house, he's on the porch, and I think if I recall correctly, he gives you something to drink and then you pass out. And then you wake up naked in the woods. And there's some assumptions of what could have happened, but then you just go back to the house and I mean, I found the house again and I popped
Wait, are we
that
talking
guy
about
in
the
the
game or
face.
that camping trip you went on?
That both.
Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that
Well,
on the
yeah, we
podcast.
we don't talk about Camp Kaiva. But there's a there I could talk about Red Dead literally all day. I think the world building is so
Stop hogging the
phenomenal.
mic, bro. Let's talk about a little Vice
Okay, you know what?
City.
Let me let me
For real, you
No,
back
I'm
in
gonna,
it,
I'm gonna
bro?
reel it back when it's my turn. But I just threw the line to you. Now it's your turn. Fine. Tell what is your favorite thing about Grand Theft Auto Vice City other than the Tony Montana
Tony Montana.
mentality of the
It's a
game?
Tony Montana.
Do you have to
Uh,
do the lip when you do the Tony Montana thing?
yeah. Because if
Okay.
I do it like this, Tony Montana. Let's do it,
Wow.
but you do it's Tony Montana.
Tony Montana.
Tony Montana.
So many people just turn out the podcast. They're like, how many times are these guys going to say Tony Montana? As many times as we want to. Okay. No, but
Leave it in the
seriously,
comments.
seriously, what
It's
what
just
draws you into Vice City?
it's like so I know like when you go to Grand Theft Auto 5, there's obviously a lot more. You get your online, there's a lot more you can do with your cars and all that stuff. But I feel like Vice City is like what really like opened things up.
It did a
Um,
lot.
right.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously you always have your cheats. You always get your money, in your game, all your ammunition, all your guns. And the best thing is to go around. Can I get 5 stars? Can I get 6 stars? Can I get 7 stars? Can I get 8? Um, PlayStation. I feel like I can.
I think it was R1, R2, L1, R2, left down, right up, left down, right up.
Yeah,
And then you could do the left down, 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 left down, down,
that's the
right.
money one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first one was the guns because that's what you got to first
Yeah,
get.
because you
Yeah.
used to have the cheats written on a piece of paper and taped
Yes, right
to
above
the
the
wall.
TV.
Like, you need to be, because like if you're getting shot at by the cops and
I
you're
need
about to
armor.
die, yeah,
Oh no,
and then you
wait,
mess
that's
it
more
up.
money. But it's crazy because the soundtrack to Vice City was like to me the '80s, so it was like second to none. I remember just cruising around a lot in that game and just
Yeah.
driving around listening to the radio stations that they had on there. But I just love that open world, and I love that they brought that to Red Dead. Obviously you have all your missions and things like that, and the storyline that goes on. Um, but it was first game you really could buy houses,
Yeah.
purchase them, so you could have all these lots and everything around, which has now opened up huge. I mean, San Andreas,
Yeah,
you
there's a lot
know,
you could do in San Andreas. And then obviously Grand Theft Auto 5, when you're playing GT Online, there's all kinds of properties that
everywhere.
you can buy.
So, and San Andreas was another great game. Especially when you're down there in the hood.
Yeah.
No one's ever gonna forget that cul-de-sac ever.
No, that's why they brought it back to Grand Theft Auto 5. And
Yes.
and it's funny because you go to that cul-de-sac in GTA 5 and you just stand there for a second and people are like, what's this dude doing? And then they start shooting at you. It's like, no,
Wait a
no.
minute. Reminiscing on old times,
Oh man, I
It's
don't
like I
miss
was
the
here in a
gang
different
wars.
life.
Do you remember the gang wars in San Andreas? Where like
Yes.
it would start flashing on the map and then you'd have to stop whatever ridiculous, stupid thing that you were doing,
And
like
then,
taking your girlfriend bowling
yeah,
to go and stop that
girlfriend,
gang
you
war.
mean prostitute.
Well, there are girlfriends in the game too. You didn't take prostitutes bowling. You'd take them into the alley, do the thing, and then do something to get your money back. Yeah, yeah. The car went back.
Paul, what are you doing in there? Nothing, Mom.
I'm folding my laundry, Mom. Stop
So,
disturbing me while I'm cleaning my room.
yeah, Vice City, like I said, is probably one of my favorite Grand Theft Auto game, but I love them all. I mean, even the very first one, like, just opened your eyes to a
Bird's
whole
eye view. Is that? Are you talking about Grand Theft Auto 3, the first 3D one?
the
Or are you
first
talking about
3D
the bird's eye view one? Which one?
3D one.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because did you know they used to be, it just used to be a bird's eye view of like you could see your character from the top and the cars, and it was bizarre. But then GTA 3, they did the 3D world.
I love that there's like all the storylines. So the Grand Theft Auto 3 was like Mafia.
Yeah,
Then you had Grand Theft Auto 4, which was
like the drug cart. Well, 4 was, well, 4 had a lot of different
it
things
was kind of
going on there.
Mafia as
Yeah,
well.
but I think it was more focused on Russians instead of the Italian
Right,
mafia that
right.
was
Because I think
GTA.
you were a Russian, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. And then you have
Nico.
what?
Nico. That
Oh,
was,
Nico. Yeah,
yeah, that
yes,
was
it's
his
definitely
name.
Russian.
Yeah, yeah.
Then you have San Andreas, which was like your gang banging, hood type stuff, and then you have Grand Theft Auto 5.
It's a little bit of everything in GTA 5. They
Yeah.
kind of took all the old
But you
games.
play that rich guy
Yeah.
who lives that lifestyle of that, kind of you're not coming from the bottom and making it to the top. You're kind of already there at the
Yeah.
top,
Well, it
and
depends
all
on
this
who you
stuff
want to
goes
play
down.
because, you can play as Michael, which is the rich guy. You can play as Franklin, which, he lives down there by Grove Street
But you
from
don't
the.
start with those
No.
guys.
And then you can play as Trevor, which is
Dude,
my
that's the
personal
favorite,
favorite.
bro, the method. I
Yeah.
love
Just his lines
yeah, there
are
is so many
phenomenal.
one-liners that we cannot say on this podcast, but yeah, there is a lot of great stuff with Trevor out there and that whole trailer park side of
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto 5. So,
My favorite thing about Grand Theft Auto 5, when they first came out with GTA Online, me and the Cali people used to pick out individuals and just bully them until they quit. Just,
what a
we'd,
monster, bro.
I was a monster. We'd get our big trucks and we'd just crash into him over and over and over and over until he rage quit.
Block them in so they
Oh
can't
yeah.
even get out. Don't even have
Yeah.
to kill them, just enough to
No, we
annoy the
we
heck
wouldn't
out
kill
of
them.
them.
We just crashed into their cars over and over again, and we're not murderers.
Oh yeah.
Come on now. But we used to troll people so hard in Grand Theft Auto Online. But Vice City, my favorite thing in Vice City was that was they had the like fake Ferrari in Vice City. And that car just that like car made me like Ferraris in real life.
Dude, I would like. So I'm sure you've done it where you like pull out of your garage with your best car, right? Pull out, go out in the street, and then somebody hits you. I reverse
Oh,
that thing right back to the
you
garage,
let it
make it
close.
look perfect again, and then drive right back out.
That reminds
Not
me,
today, player.
like
Not today.
how dumb the cops are in Grand Theft Auto games. Now they changed it in Grand Theft Auto 5 where you can't go into the garage if a cop
I
is
thought
on you.
they San Andreas. If you had, if as long as you had like, if you had 2 stars or more, but if you only had a 1 star and you pull in a garage, it'll go away. But
I think in San Andreas, as long as they weren't in sight of you, you could pull into the garage. But in like Grand Theft Auto 3, like you go run someone over right in front of a cop, right in front of the paint shop. He gets out and starts shooting at you. You back into the paint shop while he's shooting at you. Door closes, opens. Funny thing is, the car is the same color, but they're like, where did he go?
that one doesn't have bullet holes in it anymore.
What is happening? This is crazy. But man, if I had to pick Grand Theft Auto or Red Dead, like if I could only have one of those franchises for the rest of time, it would actually be Grand Theft Auto.
Oh,
Because Red Dead, there's only so much you can do in a Western, which is why, Red Dead,
I'm
they
so
did
glad
their
you said
own
that.
online mode, Red Dead Online, and it's trash.
I say it didn't do very
Yeah,
well.
because you got to figure with Grand Theft Auto 5, the reason that it's so successful is the things that people can buy. These luxurious items, these cars, these houses, yachts, ships, planes, whatever you want, flying cars.
The world is
Yeah,
yours.
you can buy all this stuff and it gives you something to play for. In Red Dead Online, what are you going to play for? Oh, I want them new boots with the
This is
spurs.
my saloon.
I got them apple bottom slacks and the
Stop,
boots with
stop,
the
stop.
spurs.
So embarrassing.
But man, I remember when Red Dead Online first came out though, I was so excited.
First person in there, last one out.
So I wasn't the first person in there. I spawned and there was a guy waiting where people were spawning and just killing them instantly. And then,
That's actually boss, bro.
yeah, and then he was a worse bully than I was in GTA 5 because he would every time I spawned because it would spawn you 50 yards away, bullet, 50 yards back this way, arrow, 50 yards back this way, dynamite. Like he killed me
He knew every
nonstop.
spot.
Oh man, whoever that guy was, like one thing, I hope you stub your toe.
And I hope you subscribe and listen to this podcast.
I hope you do too. I wish I knew what his gamer tag was because I was playing that on the good old Xbox, but I hated that, man. Like there's only one thing that I hated more at that time than that, and that was iPhone people.
Yeah, I still hate him.
Yeah. Oh, I got all these features. I got 12 gigabytes of jar RGBs.
RGBs. I was so mad when I saw the phone pop up in Grand Theft Auto, and I was like, "Gosh, dang it! Why's it gotta be looking like an apple?"
First of all, that's a pear.
I said, "Why's it gotta look like
No,
an
it
apple?"
looks like a pear. Looks
I'm
like a
not
pear
talking about
phone.
the logo. I'm just talking about the format of the
It
phone.
looks like a smartphone.
Anyways,
What, you can't have a rectangle with a touchscreen? You can actually hear the crickets going on. So if you ever hear us mention crickets, I have a bearded dragon. So I have a container full of live crickets that I feed to
we'll
the
bring him
bearded
on
dragon.
one day in this podcast.
I can bring them on right now.
No. Let's not do it right now.
No? Well, now we just got people excited. One of the next podcasts we'll bring on Bosk. We talked about Star Wars animal or pet names. I forgot to bring up that I have a bearded dragon named Bosk, which is from the Trandoshan bounty hunter from the
Sorry, boss.
Star Wars universe. But I think that'll wrap it up though for video games. So
Yeah.
my favorite single player game, Red Dead Redemption 2.
Grand Theft Auto, Vice City.
So we're gonna take a small break and then we'll be back for our final segment, which is sports.
We'll see you guys in a few. Welcome back to the MGS podcast, your one-stop shop for movies, games, and sports. As you can see, Mr. Jacob is not here with me. That's because we made a little bet last week, and I won that bet. If you guys watched last week's podcast, you'll know that Jake wagered in that Wisconsin would win in their first game by 10 points, and they did in fact win, and it was very close. It came down to the wire, but they won by 7 points. So Jake here is going to come back as Jakey Poo in a different outfit that he was in before. So stay tuned, and we'll see you in a few. Welcome back to the MGS podcast, your one-stop shop for movies, games, and sports. I'm here as always with Mamela Anderson. How you feeling?
I'm feeling glamorous.
I have been waiting for this moment all day long. As you guys can see, Jake here has lost the bet. I am so sorry. Mamela here has lost the bet. And as you can tell, my co-host here has gone from scruffy to beautiful in just a short period of time.
I don't know how women do this hair. Like it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Oh my
But you know,
gosh.
we're moving into the final segment of our show, which is sports.
Sports.
This is unfortunately where I lost last podcast bet. I thought Wisconsin was gonna hold up.
It got really close, man. I think at
They were
one
up by
point,
9
yeah, I was
with like 38 seconds left, and I was like, "Come on,
you could do this. And then
you can do it."
I won't lie, I fell asleep towards the end of the game, and I was like, man, I think at halftime it was 28-28.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, this is gonna come down to a wire. I know it because Wisconsin's probably gonna come out at half and put on a strong game here towards the end. And
Yeah, it stayed real close until halfway through the second half.
yeah, with about 10 minutes left when they
Yeah.
started getting a little bit more points. But then I woke up, I had to feed my kid at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I looked at the phone, I was like, please, 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 said a small little prayer. And the gods were in my favor, and they won by 7 points, not
Yeah.
10. So but let's dig right into our sports segment here with Mamela Anderson. Top it off with the news here. We're going to go right back to LeBron James,
Yeah, he's
37 years old,
just breaking records.
breaking more records.
Like what are you going to do at 37 years old? I'm going to tell you what you're not going to do, break records.
No, not like that, man. At 37 years old, I'm going to have a podcast with my best friend, and we're just going to be rocking and rolling
Nice.
with more of these bets down the road.
Yeah, so LeBron passes Kareem
As
for
number
number
two.
two.
Yeah,
All-time.
all time on the scoring
Man.
list.
That's 36,947 points.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And at 37 years old, he's still doing it and still crushing. I was just watching a little bit of the game earlier, and he absolutely laid a monstrous dunk on Kevin Love tonight.
Speaking of love, I don't really love the way that you've been staring at me.
I can't help it. I don't know if it's the lipstick, the eyeliner, or the blush that you put on your cheeks. I'm really not sure. I'm really trying to figure out how much you're enjoying this. That's the real thing.
I'm having a good time with it. I feel good. I feel good. I don't feel as good as Steph Curry though.
No.
Right now though. Steph Curry unfortunately suffered a foot sprain against the Celtics. Not sure how long he'll be out. As of now, they're going to reevaluate him in 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks. That's going to hurt the Warriors, but they have a pretty young squad over there, and
I just feel like they can never all be healthy at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, they got Klay Thompson back this year, quarter way through the year. It's weird because I just saw a stat the other day. They were actually doing better without Klay Thompson before he came back.
Yeah.
But he's still, no matter what, especially when it comes to the playoffs, he's going to be a huge part of that team.
Yeah. Well, and then
hopefully they can get Steph Curry back before then.
Hopefully.
So.
And then Dame Lillard ruled out for the remainder of the season after that surgery that he had. So
put him on hold and just say, let's be done with it for this season. You know, not much going on for the Trailblazers. So.
Yeah. You know, the worst thing about the podcast is I have to announce that Devontae Adams was traded to the Las Vegas Raiders while dressed
Oh.
as a woman.
I remember calling you and I was like, "What is Green Bay doing? Like, what is going on? I
So
don't understand. You guys just signed Aaron Rodgers, and like we talked about, like I thought there was a connection here with these two. Like they're not gonna play without each other. And then I hear he got traded, and I'm like, there's no way. This has got to be fake news. Like this
yeah,
can't happen.
so a coworker had texted me, and I have to read it as it was texted because I was actually very confused. He says to me, "I'm sorry for your loss." Like, what are you talking about?
Did you see something on my Facebook that I haven't
And
seen
and
yet?
I said, "What did I lose?" He said, "Oh, I guess you didn't see the news or don't believe it." No. As soon as he said that, I knew it was Packers related. So I Googled Green Bay Packers and I see that Devontae was traded. And I told him, I'm like, you ruined my night. You are a terrible human being and you ruined my night.
The whole weekend, really, at that point, because that happened on what, Thursday night?
Yeah, I mean, it was his lifelong dream to play for the Raiders. The Packers, actually, it's come out that the Packers offered him a larger contract than what he accepted with the Raiders, but it's been his lifelong dream since he was a kid to play for the Raiders. And,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with him pursuing
So
where
the
he
good
wanted to
news
play.
is, I guess it wasn't anything internally that was going on that we,
Exactly.
at
Yeah.
least that we've heard of yet. That's kind of led him to make that decision. But
Yeah. And we got a 2022 first round and second round pick out of it, and
I
hopefully
thought you would have got more than that, to be
I
honest.
wish,
But
but good luck Devontae in I almost said Oakland like you did last week. In Las Vegas.
I still got used to that.
I'm
The
gonna miss you,
Chargers too.
man. I'm gonna miss you.
This has been a wild. This has probably been one of the craziest off seasons that I can remember, and mainly just because there's so many big names that are on the
Yeah,
move.
well, I mean, you look at right now, Tom Brady is the longest tenured starting quarterback in the NFC South. Think about
I,
that for a second.
it blows my mind.
And do you know why? Because someone got traded. You know who got traded? Go for it.
Matty Ice,
Matty Ice.
Matt Ryan, the end of an era. And I swear we were just reading an ESPN article that they were ready to start building around him, and give him one more shot there in Atlanta. But they traded him to the Indianapolis Colts,
Yeah.
which I think is actually a good fit. I think the Colts could have made some noise last year. I mean, Jonathan Taylor is a monster. They have a few wide receivers. Probably could use another weapon there at wide
How
receiver.
do you do this?
Yeah, I don't just gotta
You do a ponytail sometimes, right?
no,
Like
just
how?
a bun. But so I think the Colts is a great fit for Matt Ryan. I wish him the best of luck there. But Atlanta wasted no time in moving on. Like they maybe had a plan.
Yeah.
They went out and signed Marcus Mariota
Yeah. And I
like
think
an
that's a
hour
good pickup.
after.
I think that Marcus Mariota has always been deserving of a starting position.
I would probably say he's definitely before he got traded, he was the best quarterback on the bench that
Yeah.
is available for pickup.
Agreed.
He never got to see any time in with the Raiders, but I still think he's got a lot left in the tank.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he did terrible at Tennessee. I know he got injured there, which led to him getting sat
Yeah.
on the bench. But I think he'll do okay with the Falcons. I mean, they still have a couple weapons over there for him to utilize. I did see a funny tweet from their running back, um, Patterson,
Yeah.
saying, "Looks like I'll be playing two positions this year," and had a picture of him throwing a ball like he's going to be the quarterback for the Falcons. And then, like I said, 30 minutes later, we see that they've
Yeah.
picked up Mariota. So,
Well, and another quarterback that moved since our last podcast, Deshaun Watson. We had speculated it on the last
dude,
podcast.
did he
We had
get
said that he was
paid
the biggest name. He got paid.
or what,
He
bro?
got paid.
I mean,
I mean, and look at what was traded. So Deshaun Watson was traded to the Cleveland Browns. Well, Deshaun Watson plus a 2024 fifth round pick were traded to the Cleveland Browns for a 2022 first round, a 2023 first round, a 2024 first round, a 2023 third round, and a 2024 fourth
and
round
keep in
draft
mind,
pick.
this is a guy that sat out the
The
entire
entire year.
2020 season.
Yeah. We don't know if
Um,
he's good anymore. That much time away, plus going into a new system, an entirely new offense, new coaches. everything is new. I
Uh,
don't think his value was what the Browns gave to him.
well,
Plus,
what what happened with Baker Mayfield? I mean, I I'm not saying that I think he's the one or that he was going to be the best option for Cleveland, but it seemed like they were like, this is our guy. We're
yeah,
going to stick with him. And he's, I think, felt a little betrayed because
yeah.
we did see him release a letter like the day before we heard the Deshaun Watson news. And he even said, this is not anything about, I just want to say my thanks to Cleveland and yada, yada, yada. But I was like, well, that seems a little weird that you would come out with that statement and then there not be something going on. And then sure enough, the next day, Deshaun Watson is traded and he's now the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns.
Well, and I actually feel bad for Baker Mayfield because like he's homeless now. He lived in the Browns stadium.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like he was friends with all of the staff there.
I don't know if I'm laughing at your joke or just, I can't even look at you right now. Yeah, it was pretty wild. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes. I know the first thing he mentioned is that if he wanted to go to a team, it would be the Colts.
Yeah.
And then the Colts went out and scooped up
And
Matt
picked up Matt
Ryan.
Ryan.
Basically said, "Well, you're not good enough to come here." So
Well, Matt Ryan, since I forget what year it is, but I believe it's the past 5 years, I think he's first in passing yards and fifth in passing touchdowns.
yeah,
So he's actually had a pretty good last 5 years, especially when compared to the last few years of Baker Mayfield. So speaking of good few years, there's some some baseball players that got some paydays, and they're gonna have a good few years.
another big one down in Atlanta,
Yeah,
which I couldn't believe they let him go, especially after they just won the World Series. This guy was like the face of Atlanta. But Freddie Freeman is leaving, and he's going to be going out to play out west with the LA Dodgers, um, who somehow keeps getting more and more money to keep paying these guys. Because man, I don't know how they even have the cap for all these stars they have over there, but he's getting paid a 6-year deal, at 162 million.
well, and did you see that so far? The Phillies, speaking of spending money, they spent like $742 million in contracts this offseason.
The Phillies did?
The Phillies.
I don't know how they can do that either with the contract they gave Bryce Harper.
Man, I don't know. These contracts are just insane. I mean, even the Red Sox, they make a move at second baseman Trevor Story,
Yeah,
which I believe he was shortstop. He
and
wanted to play
then
shortstop, but he agreed to play second base. But they signed him at a 6 year, $140 million
I mean, as
deal.
long as you're open to it, if even you're moving a shortstop over to second base, yes, it's different from the opposite side of the diamond, but I mean, those guys have such good hands.
I have to keep this hair out of my face, man. It
The
keep,
double plays those guys will be turning in Boston will be a good one to see. So, yeah, that's another good one. Trevor Story's a great ball player. One of my favorite players who got traded this offseason, which he left the Cubs last year in the middle of the trade deadline and ended up going to the San Francisco Giants, and now is going to be moving on to the Colorado Rockies, but is Chris Bryant.
yeah, they
Signed
signed
a
him on a massive deal
yeah,
too.
seven. Well, it's a 7-year, 182 million. Which yeah, I mean, 182 million. It's
I could use
a ton of
182
money. He's
million dollars.
deserving. Man, the guy is a stud. So great bat, great glove. Always been kind of one of my favorite ball players. So we'll look forward to see what he does over there in
Yeah,
Colorado.
yeah,
So
and I'm looking forward to the U.S. men's soccer team playing against Mexico
this
in
is a
the
big one.
qualifiers for the World Cup.
This is a big one. So World Cup's knocking on our door, and this is going to be a big game for them. Mexico has always been a big rival of the USA. So the good thing is going in this, there's a lot of motivation for the U.S. team.
Yeah,
We've won the last 3 matches between those two teams. So a lot of good things going into the match. Just got to keep it up. And I look forward to watching that one.
yeah, and March Madness.
Has it been madness or
It
what,
has
dude?
been madness.
Holy
I
cow.
mean, I know every year there's issues with people with brackets, and every year you've got your Cinderella stories, like you talked about last week, wanting to hear people's Cinderella stories. There's been a few Cinderella stories so far this
Dude,
year.
how many top teams got knocked off um, within this first round. It was
Yeah.
pretty wild. So
Well, I mean, just starting in the West, Gonzaga, they're still in it, so we've still got our number one team still in it. Actually, the West is doing pretty well. If I recall, the West, we've got our number one team, number two team, number three team, number four team, all still in it in the West. So we've
yeah,
got Gonzaga, Arkansas, the Tornadoes,
that's when
uh,
Arkansas.
Duke, and Texas Tech, all still in it over there in the West. But you know, the East, you've got St. Peter's, number 15, Cinderella Story of the Year. Still in it at number 15, about to go up against Purdue.
See what's going on. It's tough because the games happen so quick within the first round of these games. I
Yeah,
mean, so they're playing. Most of these games were back to back. So they play one day and then they play the next day. And once you get to the Sweet 16, it starts to get spaced out a little bit where they get like a 4 day rest
yeah,
between games. But I think that's why some of these guys, they just get burnt out. It's the end of the
yeah.
season. They've been playing in big tournaments. And then there's a lot of pressure that March Madness brings
Oh, yeah.
because everybody wants, to be there and wants to reach the, Sweet 16, the Final Four, and have their name up there to leave a legacy with these schools. I mean, when Tennessee went out, I remember, watching some of these guys just in tears. They work all season and,
Yeah, it's
then,
heartbreaking. It's
yeah.
heartbreaking. Almost like when you sent me a message bragging that my team was eliminated. It's heartbreaking.
Only because there was the bet on the line with them. So
That
now
was
I'm like, I
from the
know.
game before. You
I
know,
had to go into
they
it.
still
So
could have went all the way. This could have been for something,
I'm,
Paul, but instead you made it for nothing.
I'll tell you what, I'm not. I don't think they're gonna go all the way, but Miami's looking real good right now. I mean, they're winning with a lot of authority. Um, I, Arizona still at their number one seed, I think looks great. So it'll be interesting to see what's going on. Michigan
Yeah,
has been a powerhouse. They went in and knocked off a better ranked team, Tennessee. So it'll be interesting to see. And like I said, as we get further into this bracket and further in to this March Madness, there's going to be a lot of good things to talk about.
yeah,
And it's important to watch a lot of these young guys because a lot of these guys are going to be coming out into this draft, and maybe your team that's scooping them up with Milwaukee, or I know Orlando is going to have a top pick, so I'm definitely looking
yeah.
for some.
Well, I was just happy that Villanova beat Ohio State,
Yeah,
your second team.
I didn't think Ohio State was going to make that big of a run for it. They were a little bit higher
Yeah,
seed, but they had a little bit of struggles during the
I
season
still
too.
just wanted to
So
rub it in like you did about Wisconsin losing. So,
dang,
but your other tornado state, the actual one, Kansas, they're still in it. They're about to go
still
up
in it.
against Providence.
Yep, we'll see how that one goes. Providence, I believe, knocked off Richmond.
Yeah,
So
but
we'll
yeah,
see.
Miami. Man, I know we've got one Miami fan that watches, and good luck.
Yeah,
As a current Florida resident, I can get on board with rooting for Miami.
Iowa State. I mean, they knocked off Wisconsin, so there's a good chance they go after Miami. But at the same time, it's anybody's game, man. These guys are playing a lot of games in a short period of time, like I said. So it's going to be who's got the stamina to make it through.
I don't think I have the stamina while wearing this to make it through, but thankfully for us, that's going to wrap up our sports section of the podcast, which wraps up podcast number 4 in the
Yeah,
books for MGS podcast.
man, we can't thank everybody enough for the likes, comments, and shares. We appreciate you guys coming to hang out with us. Um, we love talking about movies, games, and sports. It's three things we're pretty much passionate
Yeah.
about.
And
Um,
we need help with something. We need to find out, what do you guys think our wager should be next?
yeah,
What's going to be at stake?
put the bet on the table.
We want all suggestions, reasonable, within reason.
Yeah,
We're not millionaires. I can't, buy Paul a Lamborghini if he wins, maybe a toy one, but within reason, let us know. Give us some ideas on what we can
I'll take a Toyota
what
Corolla.
we can bet. But in the meantime, thank you again for tuning in. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.
Like, subscribe, like,
Have a good one,
subscribe,
everybody.
like, subscribe.
Ow.
these broken wings and learn to fly again.